The scariest level of mental and physical strength. Miyamoto Musashi. There is a level of strength so rare, so disciplined, and so unforgiving that most people never come close to it. It is not the strength of loud confidence, flexed muscles, or empty bravado. It is the kind of strength that does not announce itself. It does not beg for validation. It simply exists silent, composed, and deadly effective. This is the level of strength embodied by Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi was not feared because he shouted the loudest or looked the strongest. He was feared because he mastered himself. And self-mastery is the scariest form of power a human being can possess. Musashi understood something most people never learn. The greatest enemy is not the man standing in front of you. It is the weakness within you. Fear, ego, laziness, attachment, the desire to be praised, the need to be comfortable. Musashi went to war with these enemies every single day. While others trained only their bodies, Musashi trained his mind to be unshakable. Mental strength begins where excuses end. Musashi lived in a constant state of discipline. He slept little. He trained relentlessly. He endured hunger, cold, and isolation, not because he enjoyed suffering, but because he refused to let circumstances control him. He chose hardship on purpose, because he knew comfort weakens the spirit. This is where true fearlessness is born, not from the absence of fear, but from dominance over it. Musashi taught that a warrior must remain calm in chaos. When blades clash and death is seconds away, panic kills faster than steel. The man who controls his breath, his thoughts, and his emotions already has the advantage. This is why Musashi often arrived late to duels, not out of disrespect, but to disrupt his opponent's mental balance. While the enemy grew angry and anxious, Musashi remained empty, centered, and alert. That emptiness was his greatest weapon. Physical strength, in Musashi's philosophy, was never about appearance. It was about function, endurance, precision, timing, efficiency. He believed unnecessary movement was weakness. Every step, every strike, every breath had purpose. He trained his body to obey his mind instantly, without hesitation. No wasted energy, no emotional reactions, only action. This is terrifying strength, the kind that does not rely on luck. Musashi also rejected attachment. He warned against clinging to comfort, status, pleasure, or even victory itself. Attachment clouds judgment. A man who is attached becomes predictable. A man who desires too much can be controlled. Musashi chose freedom over comfort, truth over approval, and discipline over pleasure. He lived alone. He trained alone. He died undefeated. But make no mistake, this path is not romantic. It is lonely. It demands sacrifice. It requires you to confront your weaknesses daily and take responsibility without complaint. Most people want success without suffering, power without discipline, strength without pain. Musashi would call this self-deception. The scariest level of strength is not violence, it is restraint. The ability to remain silent when provoked. The ability to walk away from distractions. The ability to endure without being seen. The ability to keep training when no one is watching and no applause is coming. This level of strength cannot be faked. If you truly want the power Musashi embodied, you must become ruthless with your habits, ruthless with your excuses, ruthless with your time. You must learn to sit with discomfort, to sharpen your mind through silence, to harden your body through consistent effort, to detach from the opinions of others. Because when a man conquers himself, the world becomes less threatening. Miyamoto Musashi's legacy is not about swords, it is about sovereignty over the self. And that is why his strength remains terrifying even centuries later. Not because he defeated others, but because he defeated what most people never will: their own weakness. Self-mastery is the ultimate strength. Miyamoto Musashi's true power came from conquering his own fear, ego, and weakness, because the greatest enemy is always within. Self-mastery is the ultimate form of strength because it places a man beyond the control of fear, emotion, and circumstance. Miyamoto Musashi understood that the most dangerous enemy is not the opponent standing across from you, but the weakness living inside you. Fear causes hesitation, ego clouds judgment, and desire for comfort slowly erodes discipline. Most people spend their lives trying to defeat others, yet never confront these inner enemies. Musashi chose a different path. He turned inward and made his own mind the battlefield. By mastering himself, he removed the greatest source of failure from his life. True self-mastery begins with brutal honesty. It requires a person to see their flaws without excuses or self-pity. Musashi believed that a warrior must observe his own thoughts as carefully as he studies his enemy. When anger rises, it must be recognized and controlled. When fear appears, it must be faced rather than avoided. This level of awareness creates freedom, because a man who understands his inner state cannot be easily manipulated. He does not react blindly to insults, pressure, or chaos. Instead, he responds with intention. This is why self-mastery is frightening to others. It creates unpredictability and calm where panic is expected. Musashi's life proves that self-mastery is not built through comfort, but through discipline. Discipline is the daily decision to act according to principle rather than emotion. Training when the body is tired, studying when the mind seeks distraction, and remaining silent when the ego wants to speak are all acts of inner conquest. Musashi embraced hardship because he knew that comfort dulls awareness and weakens resolve. By choosing difficulty, he strengthened his mind to remain steady in extreme conditions. This steadiness became his greatest advantage in battle and in life. Another crucial aspect of self-mastery is detachment. Musashi warned against becoming attached to outcomes, possessions, or approval. Attachment creates fear of loss, and fear of loss creates hesitation. A man who is attached can be controlled, pressured, and broken. Musashi sought freedom instead. He focused on the process, the discipline, and the path, not on praise or recognition. This allowed him to act with clarity, even when the cost was high. He did not fight to prove himself. He fought because it was his chosen way of life. When a person reaches this level of self-mastery, strength becomes quiet. There is no need to announce power or seek validation. Confidence comes from preparation, not performance. Such a person can remain calm in chaos, focused under pressure, and disciplined when others collapse. This is why self-mastery is the scariest form of strength. It cannot be seen, challenged easily, or taken away. It exists entirely within the individual, making him his own weapon, his own shield, and his own foundation. Mental control wins before physical combat begins. Calmness, emotional discipline, and clarity under pressure give an unstoppable advantage in chaos and conflict. Mental control is the deciding factor long before any physical confrontation begins. Miyamoto Musashi understood that battles are first won or lost in the mind. When pressure rises, most people become slaves to their emotions. Fear accelerates the heart, anger narrows vision, and anxiety disrupts timing. In such a state, even a strong body becomes unreliable. Musashi trained himself to remain mentally still in moments where chaos ruled, because a calm mind sees clearly while a disturbed mind reacts blindly. This mental discipline was not accidental. It was forged through constant awareness and deliberate practice. Musashi believed a warrior must observe his thoughts as if watching an opponent. When fear appeared, he did not suppress it, nor did he obey it. He acknowledged it, then chose action over reaction. This ability to witness emotion without becoming consumed by it created a powerful internal distance. From that distance came clarity, and from clarity came control. While others panicked, Musashi remained present. While others rushed, he waited. This patience alone was enough to break many opponents before swords ever crossed. Musashi famously disrupted his enemies psychologically. By arriving late to duels, altering expectations, or maintaining silence, he destabilized their emotional balance. Anger and impatience began to grow in the opponent's mind, while Musashi stayed empty and composed. This was not arrogance, it was strategy rooted in deep understanding of human psychology. He knew that a man who loses control of his emotions becomes predictable. Predictability is weakness. Mental control, therefore, is not just defensive, it is a weapon. In moments of extreme danger, the body follows the mind. When the mind is calm, the body moves with precision. Breathing remains steady, movements are efficient, and decisions are made without hesitation. Musashi trained to keep his mind clear so that his body could respond instantly. He did not waste energy on unnecessary motion or emotional reactions. Every action had purpose. This unity between mind and body is what separated him from ordinary fighters. Strength alone could not match it. Mental control also extends beyond combat into daily life. Musashi lived with the same discipline whether he was fighting, training, or walking alone. He did not allow emotions to dictate his behavior. Praise did not inflate him, and hardship did not break him. This consistency built unshakable confidence because his identity was not dependent on external conditions. A man who remains the same under success and failure becomes extremely difficult to defeat. This level of mental control is rare because it requires constant effort and self-awareness. It demands silence, reflection, and responsibility for one's inner world. Most people avoid this work because it exposes weakness and discomfort. Musashi embraced it, knowing that mastery of the mind creates superiority in every arena of life. When a man controls his thoughts, emotions, and reactions, he gains an advantage that no physical strength alone can ever overcome. Discipline is chosen hardship. Musashi deliberately embraced discomfort, isolation, and relentless training to build unbreakable mental and physical endurance. Discipline is the foundation upon which unbreakable strength is built, and Miyamoto Musashi lived as a testament to this truth. He believed that strength is not something that appears in moments of crisis, but something that is forged quietly through daily commitment. Discipline means acting with consistency regardless of mood, comfort, or external reward. While others trained when they felt motivated, Musashi trained because it was necessary. This distinction separates ordinary effort from mastery. Musashi deliberately chose hardship as a way of sharpening his spirit. He slept little, lived simply, and avoided luxury because he understood that comfort weakens awareness. When the body becomes accustomed to ease, the mind becomes fragile. By exposing himself to discomfort, Musashi trained himself to remain focused even when conditions were unfavorable. Cold, hunger, fatigue, and isolation were not enemies to be avoided, they were tools for strengthening resolve. Through them, he built endurance that extended beyond the physical and into the psychological. True discipline also requires patience. Musashi did not chase quick success or immediate recognition. He committed himself to long-term growth, knowing that mastery is the result of years of repetition and refinement. Every practice session, every moment of observation, and every correction of error contributed to his development. He understood that shortcuts weaken skill and inflate ego. By embracing slow, deliberate progress, he ensured that his abilities were deeply rooted and reliable under pressure. Discipline, in Musashi's philosophy, was inseparable from awareness. Training without awareness creates habit, but training with awareness creates mastery. He constantly observed his movements, his breathing, and his mental state. When inefficiency appeared, he corrected it. When weakness surfaced, he addressed it directly. This relentless self-observation prevented stagnation and kept his skills sharp. It also cultivated humility because discipline reveals how much there is always left to improve. Another crucial aspect of Musashi's discipline was his rejection of distraction. He understood that scattered attention leads to scattered results. By limiting unnecessary attachments and focusing on what truly mattered, he preserved his energy for growth. In a world full of noise and temptation, he chose simplicity. This focus allowed him to refine his craft to an extraordinary level. While others divided their attention among many pursuits, Musashi gave himself fully to the path he had chosen. Over time, this disciplined way of living transformed struggle into strength. Hardship no longer intimidated him because he had already faced it daily. Fatigue no longer weakened him because he had trained beyond it. Discipline made his strength reliable, not dependent on circumstances. This is why discipline is feared. It creates a person who cannot be shaken by discomfort or delay. Musashi's life shows that when discipline becomes a way of being, strength becomes permanent. Efficiency over brute force. True physical strength is precision, timing, and purpose. No wasted movement, no emotional reactions, only controlled action. Efficiency was at the core of Miyamoto Musashi's understanding of physical strength. He did not believe in power for appearance or excess for intimidation. To him, unnecessary movement was wasted energy, and wasted energy was weakness. True strength was the ability to act with precision, timing, and control. Every motion had a purpose, and every purpose was guided by a calm and focused mind. This philosophy made his physical ability far more dangerous than raw force alone. Musashi trained his body to respond instantly to intention. There was no separation between decision and action. When the mind chose, the body obeyed without hesitation. This required years of disciplined repetition, stripping movements down to their essential form. By removing excess, Musashi increased speed, accuracy, and endurance. He understood that in moments of conflict, the smallest inefficiency could become fatal. Therefore, his physical training was designed to eliminate hesitation and waste. Timing played a crucial role in Musashi's approach. He believed that strength expressed at the wrong moment is no strength at all. A perfectly timed action can overcome greater force, while poorly timed effort fails regardless of power. Musashi studied rhythm in everything: movement, breathing, distance, and even human behavior. He waited when others rushed and struck when others hesitated. This mastery of timing allowed him to control the flow of combat, forcing opponents to react rather than act. Endurance was another pillar of his physical philosophy. Musashi did not train for short bursts of power, but for sustained effectiveness. His body was conditioned to remain functional under exhaustion, hunger, and pain. Endurance ensured that his precision did not collapse as fatigue set in. Many fighters lose control when tired, becoming sloppy and emotional. Musashi trained beyond this point, so even in extreme conditions, his movements remained efficient. This made him relentless and psychologically overwhelming to those who faced him. Efficiency also demanded emotional restraint. Physical strength collapses when emotion takes control. Anger tightens the body, fear disrupts balance, and impatience leads to mistakes. Musashi trained himself to move without emotional interference. His strikes were not fueled by rage or desperation, but by clarity. This calm allowed him to conserve energy and maintain accuracy. A body guided by emotion wastes strength. A body guided by awareness amplifies it. Through this union of precision, timing, endurance, and restraint, Musashi transformed physical strength into a refined weapon. His body was not just strong, it was intelligent. Each movement carried intent, and each action served a purpose. This is why his strength was feared. It was not loud or excessive, but controlled and exact. Efficiency made his power reliable, repeatable, and lethal, proving that true physical dominance comes from mastery, not brute force. Detachment creates fearless freedom. Letting go of comfort, validation, and attachment makes a person unpredictable, focused, and impossible to control. Detachment was the hidden source of Miyamoto Musashi's fearlessness, and it is one of the most difficult disciplines for any human being to master. Most people are controlled by what they cling to: comfort, approval, possessions, identity, or outcomes. These attachments create vulnerability. When something can be taken away, it can be used against you. Musashi understood this deeply, and he chose freedom over comfort, even when that freedom demanded loneliness and sacrifice. Musashi did not live for praise or recognition. He did not define himself by titles, wealth, or status. By releasing his attachment to how he was perceived, he removed the fear of judgment. This allowed him to act with clarity and honesty. A man who seeks approval hesitates. A man who is detached moves decisively. Detachment did not make Musashi cold or careless. It made him precise. His actions were guided by principle rather than emotion or expectation. Another powerful aspect of detachment was his relationship with outcomes. Musashi warned against being obsessed with victory because obsession distorts judgment. When a person becomes attached to winning, fear of losing creeps in, and fear weakens decision-making. Musashi focused instead on correct action in the present moment. He committed fully to the process, knowing that right action produces right results over time. By letting go of the need to control outcomes, he gained greater control over his behavior. Detachment also freed Musashi from the fear of loss. He lived simply, owning little and expecting nothing from life except the opportunity to refine himself. Because he did not rely on external security, hardship could not threaten his identity. Hunger, isolation, and uncertainty did not break him, they sharpened him. When a man has already accepted discomfort, it loses its power over him. This acceptance creates a quiet confidence that is deeply unsettling to others. Emotionally, detachment allowed Musashi to remain calm under extreme pressure. He did not allow anger, pride, or desperation to dictate his actions. This emotional distance created space for awareness. In that space, he could observe, adapt, and respond with precision. While others were consumed by fear or excitement, Musashi remained grounded. This calm presence alone was often enough to unbalance his opponents. Detachment does not mean indifference to life. It means independence from control. Musashi cared deeply about his path, his discipline, and his growth. But he refused to be owned by desire or fear. This made him internally free. A free man cannot be easily manipulated, threatened, or defeated. That is why detachment is such a powerful and terrifying form of strength. By letting go of what weakens the mind, Musashi gained a level of inner freedom that turned discipline into dominance and fearlessness into a way of being.